Welcome back to English Active Listening. I'm your host, Alyssa, and today we're going on an exciting and deep journey into the fascinating world of vocabulary that native speakers truly use in English. This isn't just about learning new words one by one. It's about understanding the subtle ways words fit together, the common phrases, and the natural expressions that make English sound truly real, smooth, and human. Our goal is to give you words and phrases that will help your English flow more easily, making every talk a richer, more meaningful, and a great listening experience for both you and anyone you're speaking with. So let's open our minds and dive right in. You know, when you first start learning English, it's a bit like building a house, isn't it? You spend a lot of time laying the foundation. This means carefully learning new words from dictionaries, studying grammar rules, and getting the basic sentence structures right. And that's absolutely important. It creates that strong base for your language skills. But as you get better, as you step out of the classroom and into real conversations, you might start to notice something. Sometimes, even if you know every single word a native speaker says, and you understand the grammar perfectly, their conversation still feels a bit different. There's a certain natural rhythm, an easy feeling that seems to be missing. It's no longer just about knowing single words. It's about something deeper. It's about the everyday vocabulary, the words and phrases that aren't always directly taught in beginner courses, but are used constantly, naturally, and without much thought in real life. These are the language parts that add flavor, color, depth, and a strong sense of naturalness to your speech. They help you connect with people, not just in your mind, but on a more real, human level. Learning these is like unlocking a new level in your English journey. It's where your English truly comes alive. Let's start with a group of words that can be both very useful and, let's be honest, a little tricky sometimes. Phrasal verbs. These are those interesting combinations of a verb and a small word, like a preposition or an adverb, that, when put together, create a completely new meaning. This new meaning is often very different from the original verb by itself. They are absolutely everywhere in conversations among native speakers, in movies, in books, in everyday talks. And understanding them is not just important for understanding what people say, but vital for truly sounding natural and smooth yourself. If you avoid them, your English might sound too formal or a bit stiff. Let's take a simple common verb like get. On its own, get usually means to obtain something. For example, I need to get some milk. But when you add a tiny word, its meaning can change a lot. For instance, get up means to rise from bed or a seat. We use it all the time. I usually get up at 6 a.m. on weekdays for work. Or if you're talking about waking someone, you might ask, "Can you get your little brother up? It's time for school." Notice how adding up completely changes the action from just obtaining to standing up. Then there's get over. This very common phrasal verb means to recover from an illness or to overcome a difficult emotional experience. If a friend has been sick with the flu, you might kindly ask, "Are you feeling better? Did you finally get over your cold?" Or if someone has gone through a tough breakup, you might hear, "It took her a really long time to get over him, but she's doing much better now." You see, it's not about physically moving over something. It's about moving past a challenge in life or health. Another useful one is look up. This can mean to search for information, perhaps in a dictionary or online. I need to look up that unfamiliar word to understand its meaning. But it can also beautifully mean to respect or admire someone, as in, young children often look up to their older siblings or their teachers as role models. Two very different ideas shown simply by adding up. Consider the widely used takeoff. When an airplane takes off, it truly leaves the ground and starts its flight. Our flight to London is scheduled to take off promptly at 3 p.m. But if you take off your shoes, you are simply removing them. And in an informal way, in business, or when describing success, if something like a new business or a product takes off, it means it becomes successful, popular, or profitable very, very quickly. Her new handmade jewelry business really took off last month after she started selling online. Or how about put out? You can put out a fire, which means to stop it burning. But you can also put out the trash, meaning to place it outside your house for the garbage collection. And in a more personal way, if you're annoyed or bothered by something, you might say, "That rude comment from the customer really put me out," meaning it caused you mild irritation. The trick, the key to truly learning phrasal verbs, is to learn them not just as single definitions, but always in context. Pay very close attention to how native speakers use them naturally in conversations, when you watch movies or TV shows, and when you listen to podcasts. Don't just ignore them. When you find a new one, try to guess its meaning from the words around it. Then, purposely try to use one or two new phrasal verbs in your daily English practice, perhaps when you talk to yourself or in a short journal entry. For instance, tomorrow, try to use get along with meaning to have a good relationship, like, "I get along with my coworkers really well. We always have a good laugh together." This active use helps them stay in your memory. Moving past the structure of phrasal verbs, we enter the wonderfully lively and often unique world of idioms and everyday expressions. These are phrases where the meaning is entirely different from the individual words themselves. They are like secret codes that add great color, personality, and a real sense of naturalness to your speech, making you sound truly smooth and part of the language. They allow you to paint a picture with words. Let's look at some of the most common ones. If someone dramatically says, "It's raining cats and dogs," they absolutely do not mean that animals are falling from the sky. They mean it's raining extremely, very heavily. You might exclaim, "Wow, don't forget your umbrella. It's really raining cats and dogs out there." This is so much more vivid than just saying, "It's raining a lot." When you describe something as being a piece of cake, you are not talking about dessert. Instead, you mean it's incredibly easy, needing little effort. That final exam was truly a piece of cake. This is a far more interesting and common expression than simply, "That exam was very easy." If you're feeling unwell, perhaps a bit sick and not quite yourself, you might politely say you're under the weather. "I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, so I won't be coming to work. I think I'm catching something." This is a polite, common, and generally understood way to express being slightly ill without being too specific. Imagine something completely unexpected happens, taking you by surprise. You would say it caught me off guard. For example, her sudden decision to leave the company really caught me off guard. I had no idea she was planning to go. It means you were entirely unprepared for it. Here's a great one for tough situations. Bite the bullet. This doesn't involve any actual biting. It means to face a difficult, unpleasant, or painful situation bravely because you have no choice. I really don't want to work extra hours this weekend, but I'll have to bite the bullet to finish this important project on time. Or consider this phrase, often heard in the entertainment world. Break a leg. This is something performers or public speakers say to each other right before a show or a big event. It absolutely doesn't mean to actually get hurt. On the contrary, it's a wonderfully common way to say good luck. You might tell a friend, "You have a big presentation today at work, so break a leg." The important thing to learning idioms is understanding their situation. You wouldn't use raining cats and dogs to describe a light rain. You learn idioms best by seeing and hearing them used naturally in different situations. As a regular practice, try picking just one new idiom each day that you hear in conversation or read. And then actively try to create a sentence where you use it naturally. For example, if you hear hit the road, meaning to leave, you could say to your family, "It's getting late. We should probably hit the road soon if we want to beat the traffic." This active use helps them stay in your mind. Now let's go into the interesting, sometimes tricky, area of slang and informal language. This is often where learners feel a bit unsure, and rightly so, because slang can be very specific to regions, to certain age groups, or even to particular groups of people. It can also change very quickly, with new words appearing and old ones fading away. However, understanding and carefully using some common, widely accepted informal expressions will greatly help you connect naturally with native speakers, especially in casual, relaxed situations. The golden rule here is to know when and where it's okay to use them. You would absolutely not use slang in a formal job interview, for example, but it would sound completely natural and help you connect when chatting with friends at a coffee shop. Let's look at a few examples that are fairly common and generally safe to use in most informal situations. If something is cool, it means it's good, impressive, or fashionable. This is a very common and widely accepted informal adjective, used by many generations. "That new movie was really cool. I loved the special effects." Or, "Your new shoes are so cool. Where did you get them?" When something is described as awesome, it means it's fantastic, amazing, excellent, or inspiring. "We had an awesome time at the concert last night. The band was incredible." If you're feeling extremely tired, completely without energy, you might hear someone say they are beat or worn out. "I worked a 12-hour shift today. I'm totally beat." This sounds much more natural and friendly in casual conversation than always saying, "I'm exhausted." When a situation or a person is chill, it means relaxed, calm, easygoing, or not easily stressed. "Let's just chill at home tonight and watch a movie. I don't feel like going out." It can also be used as a description for a person, like, "He's a very chill person. Nothing seems to bother him." If you understand something clearly, a very common and natural informal way to express this is, "I get it." Instead of always saying, "I understand," you might hear, "Oh, I get it now. Thanks for explaining the instructions." When you plan to spend time together informally with friends or family, you might say you want to hang out. "Do you want to hang out at the park this weekend?" This means to spend casual time together, often without a specific plan. And if someone says something is legit, They mean it's real, authentic, or really good and high quality. That new restaurant downtown is absolutely legit. The food is truly amazing. Remember, the best way to learn appropriate slang is by listening carefully. Pay careful attention to the age group, the social situation, and the general feeling of the conversation. If you hear friends using a word and it sounds natural and right, you can gently try using it yourself. But always be careful. If you're ever unsure whether a slang word is appropriate or might be misunderstood, it's always safer and wiser to use slightly more formal, generally understood language. The goal is to sound natural, not forced or awkward. Now, let's talk about collocations. This is a very important idea for truly sounding natural, and it's often an area where learners struggle without even realizing it. Collocations are simply words that very often go together, forming natural-sounding pairs or groups. Native speakers don't consciously think about them. They just instinctively know that certain words sound right together, while others sound awkward, even if they are grammatically correct on their own. Learning these natural groups of words will make your English much smoother and more fluent. Think about the word strong. What words do you naturally pair with strong in English? You can certainly have strong coffee, a drink that's very intense. But you wouldn't typically say powerful coffee, even though powerful means something similar. You can have a strong argument, a good reason for something, or strong feelings, intense emotions. You might experience strong winds during a storm, or consider verbs related to making noise. You make a noise. You don't do a noise. You make a decision. Not do a decision. You make an effort. Not do an effort. You make a mistake. You don't do a mistake. The verb make consistently goes with these words in these situations. What about the idea of speed? You can have a fast car or a fast train. But for food, we specifically say fast food, not quick food or rapid food, even though quick and rapid mean similar things. And on the other hand, you can take a quick shower, but not a fast shower. You also have a quick glance or a quick meal. See the subtle but important differences in these pairs? Another excellent example is with the idea of time. We often spend time doing an activity, or waste time doing something unproductive, or save time by finding an efficient method. We rarely use time in the same general way as we spend it. We also pass the time doing something enjoyable, like reading a book on a long journey. Consider words that naturally go with nouns describing people or ideas. You might talk about a heavy drinker or heavy smoker to describe someone with an addiction, but then talk about heavy rain or heavy traffic for weather or road conditions. For someone who is very active, you might say they lead an active life or have an active imagination. These fixed pairs are what make English sound natural. Learning collocations expands your vocabulary in a much more effective and practical way than just learning individual words on their own. Instead of just learning decision, learn the complete phrase, make a decision. Instead of opportunity, learn miss an opportunity or take an opportunity. The best way to learn these is through lots of reading and listening, paying careful attention as you go. When you find a new word, don't just look up its meaning. Pay close attention to the words that usually appear with it, the words it hangs out with. Keep a dedicated notebook, perhaps organized by common verbs or nouns, and carefully write down the specific words that naturally pair with them. For practice, try to think of 5 different verbs that commonly go with the word money. You might come up with earn money, spend money, save money, waste money, borrow money, or lend money. The more you recognize and use these natural pairs, the more smooth and less effortful your speech will become. Beyond basic grammar and simple definitions, native speakers often choose words with very specific nuances, showing incredibly subtle differences in meaning or feeling. This is where your English can truly shine, allowing you to say exactly what you mean with precision, avoiding vague language and showing your thoughts with real skill. It's about moving from good enough to perfectly expressed. Let's look at some examples where seemingly similar words have clearly different meanings. Consider a group of words that all describe moving on foot: walk, stroll, march, and trudge. Walk is the common general term. I walked to the store. But stroll immediately suggests a relaxed, easy walk, perhaps for enjoyment, often in a pleasant place like a park. We strolled through the gardens on a sunny afternoon, enjoying the flowers. March suggests a purposeful, determined, often rhythmic walk, perhaps like soldiers, or to show strong resolve or even anger. The protesters marched silently down the street to the city hall. Trudge suggests a slow, heavy, often difficult walk, implying tiredness, effort, or perhaps moving through a challenging place like deep mud or heavy snow. He had to trudge through the thick snow to get home after the blizzard. Choosing the right word here paints a much clearer, more vivid picture in the listener's mind. Or think about words related to emotions, specifically happiness. Happy, glad, joyful, ecstatic. Happy is the general term for a good feeling. I'm happy to see you. Glad often implies relief, satisfaction, or a pleasant surprise because of a specific event. I'm so glad you could make it to the party. Joyful suggests a deeper, more profound, and often more lasting sense of happiness, perhaps connected to a big event. The birth of her child was a truly joyful occasion for the whole family. Ecstatic means extremely, overwhelmingly happy, almost beyond control, often with outward signs of joy. She was ecstatic when she heard she got the scholarship to her dream university. Another insightful set of words could be about seeing things. See, look, watch, gaze, glance. See is generally passive, simply noticing something with your eyes without trying to. I see a bird in the tree. Look is active, meaning you are purposely directing your eyes toward something. Look at that beautiful sunset. Watch means continuous, often careful observation for a period of time, usually something that is moving or changing. We watched the movie all evening. Gaze suggests looking steadily, with focus, and often with wonder or deep thought. He gazed at the stars for hours, lost in thought. Glance means to look quickly, briefly, without long attention. She glanced at her watch, wondering if she was late. To truly improve your word choice, it's not enough to just look up similar words. More importantly, you need to actively observe how these words are used in real situations. When you read a book or listen to a conversation, pause and notice why a particular word was chosen over another. Ask yourself, why did the author use a stroll instead of walk here? Or what feeling does ecstatic give that happy does not? This careful thinking will help you understand the subtle differences and build a much richer vocabulary. Practice replacing general words in your own speech or writing with more specific, nuanced ones to add depth to your descriptions. Finally, let's talk about sentence starters and connectors. These are the often overlooked yet very powerful words and phrases that native speakers use, almost without thinking, to link their ideas smoothly, to guide their listener through their thoughts, and to make their speech flow logically and naturally. Without them, your sentences might sound choppy or disconnected, like a series of separate statements rather than a smooth, engaging conversation. They are the linguistic glue that holds your thoughts together. Instead of always starting a new idea suddenly or with a simple "and then," Zrania native speakers use a variety of phrases to show how ideas are related. Actually, or in fact, are often used to make something clearer, to give more exact information, or sometimes to politely correct a misunderstanding. I thought the meeting was on Tuesday. Actually, it's on Wednesday. I just checked my calendar. Anyway, is a versatile connector used to change topics, to return to a main point after a digression, or to end a side note. Anyway, as I was saying, we really need to finish this report by Friday. So, is incredibly common and has many uses. It can introduce a summary, a conclusion, or a result. So, what do you think we should do about this challenge? Or, it started raining suddenly, so we quickly went inside. However, or nevertheless, are used to introduce a contrasting or opposing idea to what was just said, showing a shift in thought. It was a difficult task with many unexpected challenges. However, we managed to complete it successfully by the deadline. On the other hand, is perfect for presenting another view or a different side of an argument. Renting an apartment is definitely cheaper in the short term. On the other hand, owning your own home gives you much more freedom to make changes. First off, or to begin with, are excellent phrases to introduce the first point in a series of explanations or arguments. First off, I want to extend a sincere thank you to everyone for coming to our special event today. Having said that, is a very natural way to add a contrasting point without completely taking back what was just said. The movie had a really slow start, and I almost turned it off. Having said that, the ending was surprisingly brilliant. All in all, or to sum up, are ideal for summarizing everything that has been discussed, or for giving a general conclusion. All in all, despite a few minor issues, it was a very successful business trip. These connectors act like clear road signs, guiding your listener smoothly through your thoughts and ideas. They create a smooth, connected flow, making your speech much easier to follow, more pleasant to listen to, and ultimately much more engaging. To practice, try purposely using one or two of these connectors in your next conversation, or when you are speaking about a topic. For example, if you are explaining something, try to use "first off" for your initial point, and then "having said that." To add a nuance, you will be amazed at how quickly your English gains a more natural rhythm. So, how do you learn and truly use this rich, natural vocabulary that native speakers use so easily? It's not about just memorizing lists. It's about active, continuous listening, careful observation, and consistent, brave practice. It's a journey, not a quick race. Be an active, curious listener. Don't just passively hear the words. Listen to them with a purpose. Pay careful attention to how native speakers use phrasal verbs, idioms, slang, and choose specific words. Notice the situation, the feeling, and who they are speaking to. If you hear a phrase you don't immediately know, make a mental note, or even better, immediately write it down in your phone or a small notebook. Read widely. Immerse yourself in real English content. Read books, online articles, news reports, anything that truly interests you. When you read, you find words and phrases in their natural settings. Pay close attention to the words around them and how they work together. If you see a new idiom or a phrasal verb, highlight it and actively try to guess its meaning from the situation before looking it up. This trains your intuition. Use a good learner's dictionary and online resources. Dictionaries made for English learners often provide great examples of words that go together, common phrases, and helpful notes for tricky words. Many excellent online dictionaries also have audio pronunciation, many example sentences from real use, and even information on how formal a word is. Use these tools wisely to understand more deeply than just a simple definition. Keep a vocabulary notebook or digital log. But here's the important part. Don't just write down single words and their definitions. Instead, write down phrases, words that go together, and full example sentences that you have seen or heard the words used in. Organize it in a way that makes sense to you. Perhaps by topic, by type of phrasal verb, or by idiom category. This trains your brain to think in groups of words, which is how native speakers process language. Practice, 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 without fear. The only way these words and phrases become truly yours, truly part of how you speak, is by consistently using them yourself. Start small. Pick just one new phrasal verb, idiom, or connector each week, and purposely try to use it in your daily conversations, when you talk to yourself, or even when practicing alone. Don't be afraid to try. Even if you use it imperfectly at first, the effort, the attempt, is what truly matters. You learn most effectively by actively doing and trying. Review regularly and actively. Go back to your vocabulary notebook or digital log. Reread the phrases. Try to use them in different situations. Use them. Regular and active review helps move new vocabulary from your short-term memory into your long-term memory, making it easily available when you need it in conversation. Remember, building a native-like vocabulary is a long journey, not a quick race. It's a continuous process of discovering, trying things out, and learning. Every new phrase you learn and then manage to use confidently in a conversation is a big step closer to expressing yourself with the clarity, natural flow, and real human-like expression you want. So keep listening, keep learning, and most importantly, keep speaking. Your efforts will definitely pay off. Thanks for joining me today on English Active Listening. I truly hope this deep look into native speaker vocabulary helps you feel more confident, more real, and more natural when you speak English. I'd love to hear from you. What's one new phrase or idiom you're excited to try using in your English conversations this week? Share your goal with us.